Okay. Again, thank you for your patience, everyone. We're recording this session. We want to welcome everyone and thank you for attending today. We do have a lot of people joining, so we do ask that y'all stay muted during the call. We will open up for questions and answers towards the end of the presentation. So if you'll just hold those or put them into the chat if you don't want to forget something, we'll get back to them as we can. We will try to answer everyone's questions, but also kind of keep our time to the 1 hour that we have scheduled for you. So again, welcome, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can everyone see that? So, awesome. All right, so we've started the recording for the session, and that again will be posted to our website in the next few days. So if you need to go back and refer to it, you can do that, or if you need to share it with others on your team that are not able to join us today. I am Michelle McGovern. I am a founding member of Impact100 Houston. I became involved in the grant review in my initial year. I served as a focus area committee co-chair the first 2 years, and then I joined the board 2 years ago, and I'm serving as the grant review co-chair last year and this year. Professionally, I sat where you all are today, working for nonprofits throughout my career, primarily as a grant writer, but then eventually as an executive director. And I'd like to pause for a second and let my co-chair, Megan Bertani Yang, introduce herself as well. Megan?
Hello, welcome everyone. So glad to see so many of you here. Yes, my name is Megan. I'm also co-chairing the Grant Review Committee with Michelle. I am a recent board member, just joined the board, but I have been a part of Impact100 Houston since its founding several years ago. And I've been involved in the grant review process the entire time. So I've become very familiar with grants, grant writing, the whole process. I used to be a child life specialist at Texas Children's Hospital for many years. So I'm kind of familiar with that world and how a lot of the nonprofits work. I am now currently a stay-at-home mom. And so I have enjoyed getting involved in the nonprofit world on this end of things. So again, thank you all so much for joining us.
Thanks, Megan, and we're glad so many of y'all are here today as we introduce Impact100 Houston's 2024 grant opportunity. We hope this presentation gives you an idea of the background and details of how to navigate the grants process, and we definitely want to get to your questions. Oops, I'm not moving. There we go. We'll get to your questions at the end of our time during the presentation. So we hope this session provides you with a background of our organization and the goals of what we hope to accomplish in making grants in our community. We also want to make sure you understand our requirements for the grants process, the ins and outs of applying for a grant with us, and the important dates that are happening this year. So while collective giving is not new, in 2001, a group of women came up with the Impact100 model. At least 100 women giving $1,000 each to award a grant of $100,000. The chapters and the gifts just kept growing. Impact100 Houston is based on this model, though there is no official tie to a national organization or any other chapters. We are fairly new, but we are thrilled with what we've been able to do in our first 3 years. And we hope to just keep growing. In fact, our membership for 2024 closes tomorrow. So if you or any other women in your life might be interested in being a part of Impact100 Houston, just please join today. Our mission was crafted by our founding board members as they formed the organization in 2020. But keeping it central in our daily activities, we feel it remains what we are constantly striving for. Words like collective, together, and community or Force for Good, Uniting and Empowering, Transforming and Working, they all still ring true for our board, our membership, and hopefully for those we hope to serve through our grants. We do this for everyone. It's for Houston because it's our home and it's your home too. Through 5 grants per year over 3 years, we've awarded $685,000 in grants to 15 nonprofits. You can see those nonprofits here. You can read more about what those organizations hope to accomplish with our funds on our website. Those that have the stars are our $100,000 recipients of each of those years. And we're so happy to announce that our members give so much more than just their membership dollars through volunteering with these organizations during their grant year and beyond. Megan, I'll turn it over to you now.
Okay, thank you. So just to give you all an idea of what our grant model looks like and how Impact 100 functions. So as Michelle mentioned, we have members that join with $1,000 each, and that all of that money goes into our each year's grant pool. So everyone renews every year, and that $1,000 goes into the grant pool. And then after that, we have kind of our membership. Like I said, it's different each year, so you have to renew every year, and that will be closing tomorrow, as Michelle mentioned. So if anyone is interested in joining, you have one more day that will end tomorrow. And then the next step for you guys, which also will start tomorrow, the first step in the process of doing the eligibility questionnaire and the pre-application form. So again, that will open tomorrow and it will end by midnight on March 31st. So that will be the first step for you. And then on April 10th, we will have what we call our big reveal event. And that is where we will see how many members we have and therefore how much money we have to be giving out in our grants for the year. So that will happen in April. And then the next step for you guys, if you're invited to complete the full application, that will then open in May, on May 1st, and then we'll close again on midnight on May 31st. And then after that, so throughout the summer, our members that are on our different focus area committees will spend the summer reviewing proposals, looking through all those, and they will then select up to 3 semifinalists in each focus area. So that will happen through August. And then in September, we will then be doing site visits with those semifinalists, and then those committees will then choose 1 finalist from each focus area committee. So we will end up having 5 finalists at the end of this process. And then in October, we will have an event to meet those finalists so our members can chat with them, get to know each of our finalists in that capacity. And then in November, we will have our annual awards celebration. And that's where we invite our finalists to come, give a little presentation. We have live voting, and then we decide how our grant money will be distributed amongst our finalists. So that's kind of a rundown of how we do our grant model. And it's the same every year. We follow the same model every year. A little bit about the types of funding that we do here at Impact 100 Houston. We very much follow trust-based philanthropy, which means we know that you guys are the experts in what you do. We are here to just walk along you in that process and to give you what you need to help reach your goals. And so we trust that you will use the money in the best way that you feel will better serve your organization. And so the proposals that you submit to us, they can fall under these 3 categories of program support. There may be a specific program that you're either starting or that you need help with. So you can have your proposal fall in that category, or maybe it's just general operations. You need more funding, just overall operations of your organization. Or it could also fall under capacity building, that you maybe just want to expand your organization in a certain way. So your proposals can fall under those 3 categories, and they must also explain how the grant will strengthen your organization and the core mission that you have, why your request is being made now, like what is the need now for your proposal, and then how the timing, the size of this grant, how it's going to have an impact on your organization and or the people that you serve. We're really big, obviously, on impact. And so that's something that we are very interested in learning about. And then obviously we want related metrics showing that how this grant will have that impact on your proposal. And a side note, so any grant monies that you get, like I said, those will be, our ceremony is in November. And so any of grant money that is awarded then will have to be fully used in 2025. So by the end of 2025, any grant money that you have received from us should be fully expended by that point. We do have some preferences for funding. Proposals that are for program services that target underserved populations or marginalized. We're always looking for those, any that address any unmet needs in Harris County that may have an high impact as well. We always like to have organizations that are led by a staff and a board that reflect the diversity of the people that they serve. That's important to us. And we also want organizations that can demonstrate that the grant will have a measurable impact. We want to see those metrics, whether that's on your organization as a whole, or it's the capacity for you guys to serve the populations that you have, or anything along those lines. So we really like to be able to see what kind of impact our grant would have on there. So those are our preferences. But we do have, there are certain things that we will not fund. And so it's important to know these as well. These are things that our grant money cannot be used for. And that's debt reduction, any kind of operating deficits, bridge funding, endowment funding, any of those categories. It also cannot go to individuals or any private foundations, fund drives, annual appeals for fundraising events or capital campaigns. And then another thing that's important too is, this is very important to us, that activities that are religious or political in nature will not be funded by our grant money. And to kind of give a little more explanation with what that means. So as you see down there below, we want our grant funds to only support programs that are open to all individuals. It doesn't matter their religious beliefs, political beliefs, it needs to be open to anyone and everyone. It needs to serve a secular purpose as well. You know, we have some examples like a food pantry, health clinic, and that you do not require individuals to join in any kind of religious worship, political activities. They don't have to do those things in order to get your services. So those are definitely things that we will not use our grant monies for. And hopefully that's clear. And then to talk about the nonprofit, your eligibility for these, there are certain criteria as well. And these are things that you will see when you go into our questionnaire. You will see questions that are related to this. So there are certain criteria. Of course, one of those is that you are a 501c3 tax exempt organization. You need to have your staff, supporting staff, located in Harris County, and you also need to be serving residents of Harris County. We really want our money to stay here in Harris County and to serve the residents here. So you also need to have staff that are in Harris County as well. You will also need to be in possession of at least 3 years. We want at least 3 years of independently audited or reviewed financial statements. And we will go into a little more detail about what that means later on, but that's important to us as well. And then we also ask if you have received a $100,000 grant from Impact100 Houston in the past 3 years, that you are not eligible at this point. So you have to wait at least 3 years. Now, if you have received any other, like a smaller grant from us, then you are still eligible. It's those that have received the $100,000 in the past 3 years. Okay. And a little bit more about those financial statements that I just mentioned. It's very important that they are independently audited or reviewed. And so that means independently means that someone outside of your organization. So it can't be one of your employees, can't be a board member, volunteer. It has to be an entity that is independent from your organization. And so Michelle is going to be pulling up a website, and those links that are in there will go to these websites as well. And so this is from the National Council of Nonprofits. and it gives a very good detailed explanation of what an independent audit is. So again, it's someone separate from your organization. You've hired an outside company to audit or review your financial statements. And so independent is a very key word there. And then we also have the other link on there will then take you to this page here. And this just gives you an example of what an independent audit report looks like. Okay, so in case you haven't done this before or haven't seen that before, this would be a very good example. So those links that are in there hopefully will be helpful for you if you have any questions about what the independent audit or review looks like for your financials. Oh. Okay, and then Michelle is going to now talk a little bit more about, I had mentioned that we have focus areas that we'll be reviewing our grant proposals. And so she's going to talk a little bit more about that right now and how the actual review process will work.
Yes. Oh, that went wrong. Sorry, guys. All right, sorry. Again, our founding board members, based on models at other Impact 100 chapters, selected 5 focus areas for our giving here in Houston. And those are arts and culture, education, environment, family, and health and wellness. And there's examples of what we mean by some of those things. That's also on our website. So please feel free to look at our website there. As applicants, you'll select which of the 5 focus areas your proposal would be reviewed in. And we ask that you select only one based on the focus of your proposal, not your organization or mission, knowing that sometimes different organizations and different proposals could actually fit into more than one of these. And then there are times when we do notify applicants that we will review their proposal in a different focus area than they originally selected, though this does not happen very often. But we would let you know that that's going to be happening. We'll talk a little bit more about the different steps applicants take throughout our grant process. But if you are invited to complete a full grant application, our focus area committees will review your proposals based on these factors. And please note again that impact here could be for your organization, your ability to serve your constituents, or the constituents themselves. And at the end of the review period, each focus area committee selects its prospective semifinalists. So up to 3 per FAC, which are then sent to review by our Community Investment Review Committee. And CIRC helps us to ensure that semifinalists are financially sound and suitable for further consideration. While CIRC can result in the elimination of an applicant from the review process, it will not provide an overall ranking of the semifinalists for the FACs. So it is a separate committee from the FACs and operates independently. What they're primarily checking for is that the budget clearly and accurately details the use of funds and is responsible and appropriate, that the organization's financial documents indicate it is financially sound and provides confidence in the long-term viability of the organization itself, that revenue and expense trends for the organization are healthy, that the organization shows adequate financial support and revenue to continue to function for the entire grant year. And if other funding sources are required to complete the proposed project, that there's a reasonable plan for acquiring those funds. And then that the organization has few red flags. And some examples of that would be large contingent liabilities, lawsuits pending or filed, material weaknesses in internal controls and processes, or large payables, debts, and liabilities. So again, there are 3 steps to the application process. And those are the eligibility questionnaire, the pre-application form, and the full grant application. The first 2 steps will be completed in March, and then that 3rd step will happen in May. You'll get access to the eligibility questionnaire through our website beginning tomorrow. Once that's completed, assuming your organization is eligible to apply, you'll be directed to the pre-application form, which is due no later than March 31st. We do realize that it is a holiday weekend, but the deadline will not be changed or extended. So please plan accordingly based on your organization's work schedule and any holiday time you might be planning for yourself or your teammates too. Be aware that our 2024 grant process and the awards that are announced this November are for use for programs and projects to be completed in the 2025 calendar year. We will announce our total grant dollars available for 2024 awards at our big reveal event, which is in April. And then in May, those organizations that are found to meet our eligibility criteria and funding priorities based on their pre-application form will be invited to complete the full grant application. That is opened in May and closes May 31st, and extensions are not given. Over the summer, our focus area committees will meet and they then begin their review process prior to the Community Investment Review Committee doing their review. Once our semifinalists are confirmed by CERC, those organizations will be invited for site visits, which are conducted in early September. Following site visits, FACs meet again to select one finalist for each FAC. And then those 5 final applicants will have representatives attend our Meet the Finalists event, where our members have the opportunity to learn more about their organizations and their proposals. And then, of course, our annual award celebration, which will be held November 6th this year. And finalists will present to our membership, who then vote to select our grant recipients, and the awards are announced that evening. Please know that we will communicate with applicants along the way. Some of those communications will be automated emails from our application system, which we'll talk about in just a minute more. And occasionally we do need to contact organizations to request additional information. And we hope that everyone understands that as a fully volunteer-run organization, we are not able to provide feedback on any applications at the end of this process. And that's including our semifinalists and finalists. Megan?
Thank you. Yes, as Michelle mentioned, there is a system, a software that we will be using for the grant applications, and that it's submittable. Some of you may be familiar with this already, but it's the third-party system that we use for all of our applications and reviews. We wanted you to have this contact information here in case you have any issues along the way. So if you have questions just about the application process in general or about Impact 100 grant process, you can contact Michelle and I using that email address right there, that grants@impact100houston.org. And if you have any specific questions about submittable, like if you have technical issues or you're having questions about how to actually use submittable, that website there will take you to several help topics. It can also take you to a chat, those things to help you contact submittable, because they will be able to help you with more of those technical issues. But we are happy to answer any questions that you have just about our grant process as well. And then the application steps, as Michelle mentioned, this is just another layout of how it will work for you guys. Your first step will be the eligibility questionnaire, which again opens tomorrow. Again, it's just a few questions there to check your eligibility. If you have met all that criteria, you will then be invited to then fill out the pre-application form. And that's just a little more information about your organization, your mission, brief description of your proposal. And again, that is due by March 31st, 11:59 p.m. It will get cut off. So make sure that you have that done by the end of the day on March 31st. And then we will there is a committee of us that will look through all those pre-application forms, kind of screening those to make sure, yes, you are indeed meeting our criteria. all those funding things I had talked about earlier. And then we will go through those. And then if we decided that, yes, you do meet that criteria, you will then get an invitation to fill out the full grant application, which will open on May 1st. And again, you have until 11:59 p.m. on May 31st. We will not accept any applications after that point. So we give you a full month to get that application done, and we'll just ask for more details then about your proposal at that point. And so there'll be a lot more information we're asking then. So those are the three main steps for applying for a grant. Just so you are aware of some of the documents that we will be asking for along the way, so you can kind of make sure you have those ready to go, or you know to look for those to see if you have them. As I mentioned before, you will have to have an IRS letter of determination. We need to have proof that you are a 501c3 organization. And again, we will be looking for an independently audited or reviewed financial statement. You must have at least 3 years of that. So that's something that we'll be looking for in the pre-application. And then in the full application, we will be looking for these documents as well too. So there is a proposal budget, obviously, and we will provide you with a specific template that we would like you to use. So that way we can look at them all in the same way. And so that will be given to you as part of the application process. So we just ask that you use our template to write out your proposal for your budget. We'll also be asking for your operating budget, statement of activities, which means revenue, expenses, profit loss statements, as well as a statement of financial position or a balance sheet. Also for your 990 forms, any current previous year funding sources that you have. We also would like to have information about the makeup of your board, the makeup of your staff, especially key staff. You don't have to give us every single person that works there, but people that will be key components of your proposal. We will be looking for information about them, as well as your insurance certificate, asking about any possible litigation you might have the past couple of years. And then we do allow collaborating organizations. So if you have a specific program, you're going to be working with another organization as well. We do allow that. We do, however, ask that only one person submits the proposal. And so you can be the one to do that. At that point, though, we will like to have a letter of commitment from that collaborating organization that can be uploaded into your application. And so we do allow for collaborators, but we definitely want to have a letter of commitment from them as well. Okay. And then Michelle's going to talk a little bit about our site visits.
Yes. So each of our 5 focus area committees narrows down all of the applications that they review to prospective semifinalists. And that's up to 3 each for a maximum of 15 semifinalists. Your organization will be contacted if a site visit will be conducted, and will schedule in late August for the visit to take place between September 3rd and 13th. Each focus area committee will conduct their site visits in the same way, either in person or virtual. And you can see here who should participate from your organization, as well as who you might expect from the Impact100 group. Our site visits allow the FACs to delve a little deeper into your organization and proposal, because there's only so much that someone can understand from a written grant application, and the site visit gives the organization the opportunity to provide further insight into the proposal. And then following the site visits, the focus area committees reconvene to select one finalist from that focus area. Those finalists are then invited to our Meet the Finalists event. And this is the first opportunity for our membership, as well as the public at large, to learn who our 5 finalists are. This is an informal event set up for casual conversations and light lunch, without applicants doing a presentation of any sort. And then our annual award celebration. And this is the culmination of our grants process and our review efforts throughout this year. And it's a lovely evening with a great amount of energy, which is very inspiring, maybe a few tears here and there too. Each of the finalists gives an oral presentation to our members, and live voting is then conducted and the awards are announced that night.
Okay, well, we are so thankful to have so many of you joining us today. We always look forward to being able to learn more about your organizations. I'm amazed at some of the work that you guys do. I love reading all the grant applications every year, and so I'm definitely looking forward to learning more about that. And so at this time, we are going to open up for questions and answers. I know we had a couple in the chat. Michelle, would you be able to post those links to the audit, the independent audit? Would you be able to post those in the chat? I think someone was asking for those
Yes,
links.
thank you. That's a great idea. I will go ahead and do that.
And then we have another question here. Is there a limit of applications that will be accepted? And no, we do not have a limit. As long as they fit into all that criteria and go through the pre-application stage and all of that, then no, we do not have a limit to the number of applications that will be accepted. Let me see if we have any other questions in the chat. I don't see any. Do you guys have any questions? You can raise your hand or just unmute
Yes.
yourself. Go ahead, Marvin.
Hi, everybody. My name is Marvin Metley Jr., VP of Finance for Emerging100 Houston. Happy to join you all today. I just wanted to ask the question, we are all male organization who is, our goal is to empower young male youth throughout Houston. Are you guys more, and I respect what you guys do and I love what you do. I actually like the business model a lot. But are you guys open to supporting all male organizations? Is that okay? That's just one thing I wanted to ask.
Absolutely. So while we are a women's group, we know the general public is not all women. And so we are open to supporting good work and work that we feel is impactful to our community. So that's where we focus. It's not on who you serve necessarily. If you're meeting all of those other criteria, yes, we will look at that.
Awesome. Thank you all for having this today. And I look forward to hopefully being able to submit the application. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks.
Thank you. And we have a couple of questions here in the chat. We also have one. Michelle, would you be able, someone wanted to see the past winners again. Would you be able to?
What I'll do is give you the website because those are posted on our website. So let me put that there.
Thank you. One of the questions is, what is an average gifts that are granted? Our goal is to always give away $100,000 grants. And so for every 100 women we have a $100,000 grant. So we don't really have an average because it kind of depends on how many people join every year. Because like I said, everyone has to renew every year. And so we have a different number. So we don't necessarily have an average. So the goal is for every 100 women, we have a $100,000 grant. And then whatever we have above like 100, 200, 300. So let's say we have 200, like last year we had 245 women. So we gave away two $100,000 grants. So 2 of our 5 finalists got a $100,000 grant, and the other 3 finalists then split up the 45. So they each got $15,000. So while there's not an average, it just kind of depends on how many women that we have joined. So we do try to get to that 100,000, and then whatever is left over, we will then split up amongst the other finalists. So hopefully that answers that question. What else? And the proportion of funding between focus areas, and that's kind of it. It's not necessarily divided equally among the focus areas, so we don't have like a certain amount set aside for each focus area. It comes down to the voting. It depends on how much money we have to give out, and so again, that goal is 100,000. So when people vote, they are voting for whichever organizations they want to get the $100,000 grant. And so there's not a certain amount set aside for each focus area. And so, yes, it is variable from year to year.
Right.
Hopefully that if I answered that, Michelle.
I hope so. I think it sounded great to me, but please ask the question again if something didn't sound right. I do want to mention again, because we have had people join late, this session is being recorded and it will be posted to our website in the next few days. So you can take a look at that. I did post our grants page from our website, as well as our impact page from our website. So you can look at those 15 grant recipients over our 3 years. And then also the grants page has all of our eligibility criteria, so you don't have to go back to the recording and scan through that. It also has a great FAQ page. So if you want to read the FAQs about our grants process, it has a lot of information there as well. And then of course, I'll put in our chat here our email address so that you can reach me and Megan, and we will be monitoring the email on a regular basis to answer any questions that you're not finding through our website or through this presentation.
Yep. Thanks, Michelle. I'm going to try to go through some of these. We got lots of good questions in here. To be clear, in November, 1 finalist chosen from the 5, not 1 from each. No, so there's 5 finalists. There will be 1 finalist chosen from each focus area committee. So we will have 5 finalists at the end, and then our membership will then vote on which organizations they want to receive a $100,000 grant. So the goal is, I mean, if you are a finalist, that hopefully you will receive some form of grant money, some amount. I don't know what that's going to be yet, but so there will be 5 finalists, not just 1. For the site visit component. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to read that question. So you do not have to have a physical office for the site visit. We would work with any of our semifinalists to figure out how we can make those visits work. The FAC will determine if those visits would be in person or virtual, and they all have to be the same. So if there's, let's say, an environment organization that doesn't have a physical office, but they're a finalist, they could conduct that in, say, a conference room somewhere at someone else's business. We do have access to different conference rooms through our board members. And so all 3 of those environment semifinalists could be visited in the same way. So I hope that answers the question. But if they determine that it's not easy to do it that way, they might select that they're going to do all 3 site visits virtually. And that's an option for that FAC. But each of the semifinalists within any one FAC has to have the site visit in the same way.
Yep, great. Another question, do we have to specify the dollar amount of the grant in our proposal, or will you decide that? So when you submit your grant proposal, you will submit it as if you were receiving a $100,000 grant. We want to hear from you. If you receive a $100,000 grant from it, how will you spend that $100,000? So that is how your proposal should be written. That's the dollar amount that you will be using when you are submitting your grant proposal.
And if you have more than that you need for your program or project, we then want to hear how you might fund the balance of that. So if it's a project that's $150,000, you can say we're hoping for $100,000 from Impact100, and we have these 3 other requests out, or we have funding from this source already committed and we need the balance. So you can let us know how you might fund anything over that. And similarly, if you have a program or project that's only $75,000 that you'd like to receive funding for, then maybe you demonstrate how you would use that $25,000 over your program costs for your general operations support. So you could kind of combine program support and general operations, or capacity building and general operations. Those kinds of things could be combined within your $100,000 request. But also know that while we would love to give all of our finalists $100,000, that may not be an option if we don't have 500 members this year. So we expect to give at least one $100,000 grant, and then the balance would be divided among the other finalists. And so that money could be less than. So you may be asking for $100,000, but we may be awarding less than $100,000. And we would work with those organizations on what might change if you ask for $100,000, but you're only getting $42,000 or whatever that case might be.
Yep, thank you. And then we have another question. Are there any options for less established nonprofits who are volunteer run only, no staff or physical building, who wouldn't have 3 years of audited financials?
Unfortunately, at this time, there is not. So that is our requirement, that you do need to have audited or reviewed financial statements, independently prepared. So if you have, let's just say I talked with an organization last year that said, okay, well, we'll have a CPA on our board complete that. I am very sorry, but that is not independently audited or reviewed. You need to have that taken care of by a contracted audit or review firm. And so again, read that information in the link that I posted and see the sample that is on our website. And you do have to have that for 3 consecutive years, your 3 most recent consecutive years. So hopefully that answers that question. We would love in the future to be able to support smaller, newer organizations, but at this time, the way our grant funding is structured, that's not an option.
What percentage of pre-applicants are asked to go forward to complete the full application? And
I don't know, I don't have a percentage, but I would say it's more than 95% of those applicants. Again, the stumbling block that we found in the past was that the financial statements, the independently reviewed or audited statements. So if you have those in the pre-application and all of the other factors are met, it is most likely that you will move forward. Again, we're not reviewing at that stage the quality of your proposal or the worthiness of what your mission is or any of that. We're just looking at, did you meet our criteria? And then you move forward. So it's a very high percentage of those that move forward.
Let's see, the other one, do you provide grants for capacity building? And yes, that is one of the categories that we will fund, absolutely. Yep. Michelle, I want to have you answer this one too.
The financial statements, yeah.
Yeah, on what that is. A contracted CPA outside of the organization would satisfy this requirement.
Yes, that does. But they need to be actually doing a review or an audit. So it's not just them looking at your financial statements, or they can't be completing your financial statements. So your financial statements are done internally through your own staff or a contracted staff. And then someone else who did not prepare them is going to do the review or audit. And they will give you a report at the end of that. And that's what you're submitting to us. And so you need to speak with your finance team, your board treasurer, anyone that has kind of oversight of your finances to find out if this is done for your organization. And then the timing of that, yes, is the answer to that question, because different organizations have different fiscal years. It's kind of the most recent audit that has happened or review that has happened. So while 2023 is only recently closed out, audits sometimes aren't completed until April, which is beyond our deadline for when you would need to submit it. So we understand that you might be submitting a 2022 calendar year to us in March of 2024, if that makes sense. And we only ask you to submit 1 year, but we could come back if you make it to the CERC review and ask you for the previous 2 years as well. So that would be the full 3 years. We just don't think it's necessary for everyone to submit all 3 years if we're not going to move them on for CERC review. Any other questions? Please feel free to just jump off of mute and ask, or you can type it into the chat. Okay, a couple of other housekeeping things. Again, we said the recording will be posted on our website, so you can reference this again in the next few days and share it with your team who might not have seen this today. And then before beginning your application steps, please be sure to thoroughly read the grants page of our website and as well as all of the eligibility criteria and the FAQs. And then please fully, when you're doing your application steps, please fully read each question in the application to be sure you understand what we're asking and that you fully answer it. I see there's another question that came up. What if the organization has been around for 3 years, but only have 1 year of financial audit? Then they're not eligible. You do have to have the 3 years. We would hate for you to go through the full application process and then find out that you're not eligible later. That's just not a good use of your time. So thank you.
And 990s don't count, is that correct?
990 does not replace an audit or a review. That is correct. We
Okay,
do
thank you.
ask for a 990 in addition to that. So you need to also be filing 990s, but yes, it is not a replacement.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, if you're an organization that helps and strengthens small business owners in Houston, especially Latinos, in strategic financial issues, among others, can we participate? What do you think? I think that that's hard to evaluate just from that description. If you're a 501c3 and you've earned that kind of designation from the IRS, you're definitely eligible. If you meet all of the other funding eligibility criteria. So I think that you are, but it's the 501c3 status that needs to be confirmed based on that description. So if you've existed for 3 full years, but started with a fiscal sponsor, now are a 501c3, can you apply? So again, that you can have a fiscal sponsor if your financial information is included in their audits. So if you have your own audit for 1 year, but then the previous 2 years, you're under the umbrella of that fiscal sponsor, you need to get their audit to have on hand if that is required. I hope that makes sense. Any other questions? Okay, remember if you or a woman you know is interested in joining Impact100 Houston, tomorrow is our recruitment close. So be sure to get online and take care of that before that ends. And your membership dollars go directly to support our grants to our community, and they can be paid in installments if that's of interest to you. And then be sure to stay tuned to our social media and our website to see the total grant dollars that will be awarded this year. And that's announced at our big reveal on April 10th. So
Are you guys on Instagram?
yes, on Instagram as well. Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Gotcha.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you. You guys have a good one.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Marvin. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.